Hi class, we're getting ready to start a new lesson on simplifying linear expressions. So grab your ISN, divide it into Cornell note-taking style, and let's jump right into it. So the first thing I want you to write down in your notes is that I want you to be sure when you're simplifying linear expressions to pay attention to variables, which are the letters, and combine like terms. For example, if we have a problem that says 4 plus 5a plus 2a plus 1. The first thing we're going to do is identify our like terms. We see that we have plus a and another plus a. So, the first thing we're going to do is draw our equal sign. We're going to bring down the 4, and we're going to combine these like terms. We can combine positive 5a plus positive 2a, which is going to give us a plus 7a, and we're going to bring down our 1, plus 1. Bring down our equal sign. The next thing we see is that we have two numbers that don't have any variables. These are like terms, okay? So we can combine those. 4 plus 1 is 5. So our final answer can be 5 plus 7a, okay? So this is what I mean by paying attention to variables and combining like terms. If you see numbers that don't have a variable, they are like terms and you can combine those. Let's jump to the next thing. The next thing you need to remember is that if you see a variable that does not have a number in front of it, you need to know that that basically means that there's a 1 in front of it that's actually hidden. So for example, if you see x by itself, it's the same thing as 1x. You're not going to write the 1 in front of it, but it's understood that that just means 1x. So for example, x plus 2x equals what? I want you to write in that answer, and when you write it in, I want you to come find me so that I can check and make sure you got it correct. Then we'll move on. The final thing I want you to remember is that when you're simplifying linear expressions, I want you to pay attention to the operation symbols. That means adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. And I want you to remember your integer rules. If you can't remember your integer rules, you need to flip back in your notes to our section on integer rules, and you need to reference that as you're solving these problems. So we're going to do a few examples. For the first one, we have negative 3w plus negative 2w. And if I remember my integer rules correctly, same signs add and keep. So since I have the same signs, I'm going to add them and I'm going to keep their signs. So negative 3 plus negative 2 is going to give me negative 5w as my final answer. Next problem. A minus 4a. What did I say is the number in front of a when there's no number in front of it? It's 1. Okay? So this is going to be the same thing as 1 minus 4, except for we have our variables. So if this makes it easier for you to solve, to think of it mentally this way, if I have 1a minus 4a, that's the same thing as 1a plus negative 4a. Okay? So now that I've converted this from a subtraction problem to an addition problem, I can use my integer song, same signs add and keep, different signs subtract. Keep the sign of the higher number, then I'll be exact. So that means if I subtract these two, 1 from 4 is going to be 3, but the higher number here is 4, and it's a negative number. So my answer is going to be negative 3a. Okay? Once again, you have to remember, when you subtract a higher number from a lower number, you're still going to end up with a situation like this. So if this is confusing to you, like I said, go back and look at your integer rules section. Finally, let's work this problem. So this problem may seem a little crazy, but really we're using the distributive property. If you remember, we took notes on the distributive property, so go back and look at those. However, when you see a number outside of a parentheses, okay, because these two are like terms, we could solve this a variety of ways. we could either go ahead and add these two together and end up with 4 parentheses 3c, and then we could multiply this 4 into the 3 and actually end up with 12c. We could solve it that way, or we could solve it this way. We could say, using the divisibility rules, I'm going to write the problem over here. We could go ahead and use our divisibility rules and say 4 times c is going to be 4c plus 4 times 2c is going to be 8c. Okay? Then we can combine those two terms. 4c plus 8c is going to give me 12c. Regardless of what method, you're going to get the same answer if you do it that way. Okay? So just decide which method is comfortable for you. But keep in mind that the only way we were able to add these two together is because they are like terms. If this was a B and this was a C, we would definitely have to use this method. Okay? But because these were like terms, we could combine them and then multiply this number into the parentheses. Now, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you these 4 problems that I want you to solve. Go ahead and write them down, leaving some space for you to show your work. Remember that for these problems, you're going to need to write your equal signs in a way just like this so that you can bring everything down step by step as we've talked about. When you're finished solving these 4 problems, come find me, get your answers checked, and then you can move on to the rest of your activities. Catch you later.